Hello, my name is Ariana DeAngelis, and I'm the training manager for the Autism Project.
And I'm DJ Chase. I'm a student here at NECO, and I'm the digital accessibility specialist. I'm also autistic.
In this video, we will discuss how to support a neurodivergent student on campus who may be experiencing sensory challenges. They may be hypersensitive or over-responsive to input. They may also be hyposensitive or under-responsive to that input. Oftentimes, people are hypersensitive to some things and hyposensitive to others.
In order to understand sensory challenges, we have to understand what the senses are. Ariana, do you want to lead us over a quick overview of the 8 senses?
Sure, DJ, absolutely. Let's do a little sensory audit together, all of us. I'd like all of us to consider what our sensory systems are taking in and processing at this moment in time. The first thing to note when I'm doing this audit is that I'm assuming 8 typically developing sensory systems. If there's a sensory system that does not apply to you, please skip it. So when I'm doing a sensory audit, what I like to consider is that we evaluate right now, and for the folks at home or watching this wherever you are, do this in your setting, how we are experiencing, how our senses are experiencing this environment. So we're not thinking about what's going on with other people, just right now. So thinking about what you see, your sense of vision. Right now, I am looking at the camera, or I'm looking at DJ, but I see so much more. My actual eyes are taking in so much information from my environment. DJ, what kind of things stand out to you when you think about what your eyes see?
Well, what I see is a camera and another camera and you, Ariana.
Yes.
But I also see all of the things in the background I'm not supposed to look at for this video. Like I see the 3 people here standing at us recording, and I see this bright light.
So you're talking about some of the things you see in your visual field, and because I do what I do on a daily basis, I really focus in on how much information we are pulling in visually. From, yes, all of the wonderful folks behind the camera here that you guys can't see, but even the little things. There's a little screen over here that has little blue blinking lights. I see reflections of these larger lights off of people's glasses and reflective surfaces. I see shadows everywhere cast around this room. I see depth. I see color. I see some colors are stronger than others. Some are pulling my attention, some are not. Now, with my neurology, I'm able to process all of this input. Most of it gets sorted into the background. So my focus is either on the camera or on you, and what happens with those little blue blinking lights over there is just background. So let's take that, and then let's add what we hear. Obviously, all of us here hear my voice. I'm talking right now. Everybody can hear me. What else do you hear?
I hear the echoes of your voice.
Yes.
And I hear the noises in the background coming from that slit in the door, which also distracted me while you were speaking about that. It's and I hear the breaths of the people over there, and I hear the echoes of my voice, and I hear the way it not just echoes, but reverberates and changes the pitch of the voice as well, and that's also distracting.
Yes, absolutely. And I like what you said there about distracting. So it's not that you're able to keep going. We're able to have this conversation, but your attention gets pulled because of this input. So thinking about how each one of us is processing this sensory information. I am mostly focused on the sound of my own voice and on your voice. Occasionally my attention gets slightly pulled. I can hear some of this sort of buzzing from the equipment that we have in the area, but for the most part I'm sorting most of it out, or I'm not even picking it up in the first place. So again, you and I are sitting in the same spot. Our sensory experiences are different.
And it also would be different for someone else. I mean, in the same way, I can put most of that stuff in the background, but also I take Adderall every day for that. If without that, I get distracted by everything, and I can't focus on anything. Yes, it's different for everyone, and it's different for us, and it's also different for anyone you talk to. There's no one-size-fits-all for this.
Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Everybody is so different in their sensory experiences. And each neurology has sensory preferences and sensory aversions, but they may not be so significant that it would qualify as a real sensory challenge. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. So we've done what we see, what we hear, smell.
I can't smell.
So you're hyposensitive to
Exactly.
smell.
I can smell citrus and sulfur, and that's it.
Right now?
No, there's not.
Oh, in general.
None of those are here. Those are the only two things I can smell. At this point, I remember being able to remember smelling.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So there are two scents that in general you can pick up, the rest not so much.
Yeah, someone can make coffee and hold the beans in front of my face, and I can't smell it.
Wow, hyposensitive to that input. I, in this moment, smell deodorant, maybe some lotion, nothing major, nothing super overpowering, and only because I'm focusing on it am I attuned to it. Otherwise, it would just be in the background. So what we see, what we hear, what we smell, taste.
Taste? I can taste. I mean, I have been told that it is dampened by my inability to smell, and that's why I like incredibly spicy foods. But I certainly can taste.
Yes, and anything in this moment?
I can taste my saliva. I experience most potent smells as taste, and that's how I ask people to relate them as well. I remember I used to work at a farmer's market in Lowell, and there was a dumpster right there when we were setting up. And the taste of garbage is absolutely horrible. Like, you say something tastes like garbage. I know exactly what that tastes like. I haven't put garbage in my mouth, but that's the only sensory thing I have from that dumpster, so I wasn't overwhelmed by the smell, so I picked up on the taste of it. And it's horrible.
I am sorry you had to go through that. That is rough. So in this moment, you can taste saliva. I kind of taste coffee a little bit, nothing major, but a little bit. I have black coffee. But in general, you're experiencing your sensory world through taste, sort of compensating for that hyposensitivity to smell.
Right.
Thank you for that insight. So we've got what we see, what we hear, what we smell, taste, touch. What do you feel on your skin right now?
I feel the bridges of my fingerprints because I'm doing this with my hands. And I feel my foot against the edge of my shoe. And I feel myself on the chair and this ledge here on the chair in my leg. And I feel the fabric of my clothing folding in weird ways, which I don't particularly care for.
Thank you. Is there any touch sensation that's bothersome to you or anything that's pulling your attention?
Not right now, but in general, I dislike the feel of partially dried water on my hands, like right after you wash your hands and there's no longer water actually on it anymore, but it still feels wet. I hate that. I really hate that.
Yeah. I'm trying to sort of put myself in that feeling. So it's your hands are dry or they're damp?
It's like right after you wash your hands, there's some water on it, but it's not like there's water being poured on it anymore. You're not doing anything with your hands anymore, but it's just like they have just been wetted.
Yeah, I completely know what you're talking about now. Thank you for sharing that. So for each of you watching this, I want you to think about that touch sensation. When people have a sort of a typical response to touch sensation, they will habituate very quickly to the feeling of touch on their skin. So in other words, when I got up this morning, I got dressed, I put my watch on, I blow dried my hair, it's down, and very shortly after, I'm not attending to any of that sensation. I don't feel the feeling of my clothing on my skin, or I don't recognize it, I should say. And then suddenly when I'm asked to think about it, suddenly I can feel all of it. But for the most part, again, it's in the background. I'm not really attending to it. Unless, of course, a tag is sticking me or something, it might pull my attention slightly. But for the most part, it's in the background. We also get touch sensation from inside our mouths and on our lips. So as I'm talking, as you're talking, DJ, our tongue hits our teeth, hits our cheeks, our lips touch together. But I would imagine, you tell me, are you kind of attending to that feeling as you're talking, or is it in the background?
Well, I am now that you mentioned.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fair. And most of the things I mentioned earlier, I would normally be in the background for me.
So thank you. That it makes sense that once we pull our attention, it sort of comes to the foreground for us. For some people that are hypersensitive to touch, and I should say, in autism, the most common hypersensitivities are touch and auditory hearing. Hypersensitivity to touch can also be included in touch we get from food. So as we are eating and drinking, you get that texture sensation in your mouth. So many folks who are hypersensitive to touch will be very restrictive with the type of clothing they wear on their skin, as well as the type of food that they will eat because of those textural changes.
Texture is a big issue for me with food.
Tell me more, please.
I will basically eat anything that I can eat, but some things I just can't get over the texture of. Like I love the taste of shrimp. Can't have it for the life of me. I also very much dislike eggplant. Again, lovely flavor. Can't have the texture. And it goes the opposite way as well. I don't particularly care for the taste of jelly beans. They're fine. I wish they were less sweet, but they're fine. But I love the texture of chewing on jelly beans. It's so fun and satisfying.
That's awesome. You're making me want some jelly beans, actually. I've never wanted them before, but the sales pitch was very good. So there are 3 other sensory systems that we really don't talk about. We always hear the 5 senses, the 5 senses. But there are actually 3 more that we'll just review quickly here. The first is the vestibular sense. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's your sense of balance in its simplest
Okay.
explanation. So both of us right now are using our vestibular sense. Hopefully I haven't just jinxed us to stay in our chairs. Neither of us have tipped over or fallen on the floor. It helps us to sort of regulate our movement as well in certain ways because it tells us where our head is in relation to the ground. So if, heaven forbid, I started to go forward, I'd put my hands out to brace myself. So my body is able to realize, oh, your head's going towards the ground, and to put your hands out. Helps with posture and muscle tone in your trunk and things of that nature. So we have our vestibular sense, proprioceptive. Proprioceptive is, the receptors are your muscles, your joints, tendons, and ligaments.
Oh my gosh, that's such an issue.
Really?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have carpal tunnel because I am also a programmer, and I programmed for the year on a keyboard that went like this because my laptop was broken.
Oh, no.
So I am very aware of what my wrists are doing all the time, whether I'm doing that. It used to be chronic, and I couldn't carry my coffee mug to my seat, but it's much better now. But it's still something I'm always aware of. That's never in the background for me.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. And with proprioception, it does several different things for us. And all of these senses, by the way, they're all working together. I'm talking about them separately, but they're all working together. So imagine, have you ever fallen asleep on your arm at night?
I try not to because of the,
Oh, right.
carpal tunnel. But yes, I have, yeah.
And when you wake up and you feel nothing in your arm. So if I said to you, you're looking at your arm, you don't feel it, and I said, check your phone and tell me what time it is, could you do it? Could you pick up your phone with that arm?
I could pick up my watch, but yeah.
Your watch. Okay. So for me, when I have no sensation, I have no control. So if I have that sort of dead arm feeling, I can't move it.
Oh, that's
at
interesting.
all. Really?
Yeah. I can't relate to that. That's interesting.
Okay, good to know. So what we often tie proprioception to is fine and gross motor skills. We need to be able to feel sensation from our body, typically, in order to be able to control it. So when we're thinking about proprioception, it's very closely tied to our use of force. And it's very closely tied, again, to those fine and gross motor skills. So kind of the idea of if I put my hands here, you can see I have 2 hands. I can see I have 2. If I put one back here, and now I only have this one here, I know I still have 2, even though I can't see it.
And you know where it is, roughly.
You know where it is because you feel that pull of your muscles and your joints moving your hand back here. So we rely on our proprioception to tell us where our body is in space as well. Now, when I wake up and I have no sensation in my arm, what I'll start to do is a little bit of this, kind of squeezing to try and get some feeling back into it. Some folks who are hyposensitive, under-responsive to proprioception, will do the same. They'll seek out pressure. So some folks who like to use weighted blankets, for example, a weighted vest, a weighted lap pad, or they might just do some of this to get some of that feeling, that sensation in their muscles and joints to help them feel grounded in their body, to help them sort of navigate their physical body.
So that's interesting because I use a weighted blanket for the opposite reason.
Tell me.
I sleep with a weighted blanket because it just feels like I'm being hugged, and it calms me down, and it helps me get to sleep without rushing through things in my mind and rolling around and all that. So it's interesting that it can also be used to add more stimulation.
And it can, and it's kind of, I think, still going along the same way. Like you're giving yourself that pressure, that stimulation, but it's soothing because it allows you to feel grounded in your body, allows your body to kind of relax a little bit.
That makes sense.
So it kind of goes along the same way. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have one more.
Okay,
I
fun.
know, shocking, I know. Interoception. Interoception is all the sensation that you get from inside your body. So it's your receptors are your internal organs. Hunger, thirst, the need to use the restroom, pain, illness. All of those sensations come from inside our bodies, many of them. You might get a scratch on your skin or something. So it not only allows us to maintain our survival, but it also helps us to be in touch with and identify our emotions. So for example, we have this film shoot today. We talked earlier about how you're less nervous than I am. And so this morning when my alarm went off, immediately my interoceptive sense cued in. Butterflies in my stomach. I could feel my heart beating. I could feel my lungs expanding. My neurology interprets all of that input as, ooh, you're anxious. Now, two things kick in. One, cognitive strategies. You already have been to NECC before. You've already worked with this team before. You've read the scripts 100 times. You know where you're going. You know what you're doing. So my executive functioning kicks in to kind of help talk me down. And then I add some sensory strategies to that. I had some nice chamomile tea. I went for a little walk. I listened to some music that I really like. The combination of those cognitive strategies and those sensory strategies then allowed my anxiety to calm. And I knew that because those physical sensations went away. So it helps us with our emotional regulation as well. So right now, folks at home or wherever you are, sort of tune into what feelings you're getting from your interoceptive sense. And can you relate to that at all, DJ?
I can. First of all, it's an excellent way to de-stress. That's combining the senses like that. Very smart.
Thank you.
For me, the what is it?
Interoceptive sense.
Interoceptive senses function pretty normally, except for hunger. The Adderall that I take for the other stuff suppresses my appetite a bit. And so I have to eat on a pretty regular schedule. Otherwise, I just forget to eat because I don't feel hungry until I'm very hungry and I become dysfunctional. For a while, I was actually starving. I remember I just chugged protein shakes every day, and my mom would come home and I'd be like rummaging through the fridge because I became dysfunctional to the point where I couldn't feed myself anymore. Since it's much better now. I mean, we've worked it out with my doctor and stuff, but it's definitely something I still have to worry about, and I still have to spend energy paying attention to.
I like how you phrase that, spend energy paying attention to. And for people that have under-responsive interoception as it relates to hunger, they have the same coping strategies that you just said. So setting schedules, even putting alarms on, I have to eat, I have to drink, having an Apple Watch or a watch where something is going off to remind you to eat and drink. One of my colleagues who's autistic, she shared with me that she's under-responsive to pain and illness. So she will know.
That's rough.
Yeah, she will know something is off. She'll be able to articulate something feels weird, but where, how, why is more challenging for her. And it was such a really clear distinction when I had the flu this year. And I had a Zoom call with her from my house, and I was droning on about all my symptoms. And my head is hurting, and I have a fever, and I have a headache, and And I said, and how are you? And she said, something is off here, but I couldn't tell you what.
Interesting.
And so the sort of juxtaposition of our two experiences really showed how our sensory systems interpret this input in a different way. So right now, all of us, again, assuming 8 typically developing sensory systems, are getting input from what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, our vestibular sense, our sense of balance, proprioception, our muscles, joints, tendons, and ligaments, and our interoceptive sense. In real time, the receptors of all of these sensory systems are pulling in all this information from our environment, processing it, sorting out what we don't need, and giving us then a picture of our experience. From that picture, so for me, I'm in this room at NECC in Haverhill with you, with the whole team here in front of the cameras. I'm okay, I'm safe, I can keep doing what I need to do. But not everyone has that same experience of this exact room, of this world that we live in. We all have different experiences. If we cannot rely on our sensory systems to give us an accurate picture of the world around us, subconsciously then it's difficult to answer the question, am I okay? Am I safe? Can I keep doing what I need to do? For people who can't rely on their sensory system to give them an accurate picture of the world, they therefore may not be able to answer subconsciously the question, am I okay? Am I safe? Can I keep doing what I need to do? And so for some folks, especially those who are hypersensitive, who are over-responsive, they may more easily be pushed into that fight or flight mode because, again, it's that safety response. It's that I'm not okay, I have got to get out of here, or something is wrong. So when we're thinking about sensory challenges, again, like you said, a lot of times people think, oh, it's the fire alarms, or it's the really big, loud noises that anybody would have a hard time with. This could be anything, and it could be from so many different senses. So thank you for doing the sensory audit with me. I appreciate it. So now that we've been through all that, let's consider what we can do to help those with sensory processing challenges. One thing to note, as I mentioned earlier, just to review, in autism specifically, the most common hypersensitivities are to sound and touch. So DJ, what accommodations do you recommend for students on campus?
On campus, supports for students can include things like the use of headphones or earbuds to block out noise. Some students would even benefit from having music or a podcast playing in one ear.
That's actually a really good suggestion. Don't assume that the student is distracted by the sound because it's playing, or that they're listening to a podcast and not to you as the professor. They might just need some background noise to block out the ambient noise around them. They may also benefit from wearing sunglasses or a baseball cap indoors to block out the light.
Fidgets can also be very helpful. Have a bin of fidgets in your classroom so any student can grab one if they need it.
Absolutely. You as a staff member might consider using fidgets too. I remember once I was watching this TED Talk where the presenter was using a fidget, and at first, and I'm not proud of this, I thought, oh my gosh, that's so distracting. Why is she doing that? Of course. I immediately corrected myself. I knew I was wrong. She needed the fidget in order to do the presentation. I was distracted because I wasn't used to seeing it. So normalizing the use of fidgets can send an incredibly powerful message to your students.
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perfect. Next time you're up in the front of the room, grab a fidget and use it while you lecture.
Allowing students to take frequent breaks is also a powerful regulatory tool. They might need to go for several quick walks during a class in order to stay regulated, or they may need to go to a quiet place. If the student seeks out your assistance, help them to locate an empty office or a quiet space they can go to when feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely, DJ. Students may also benefit from alternative seating. They may ask to sit on a seat cushion or even an exercise ball, thus, as I was telling you earlier, engaging that vestibular sense. They may also ask to stand in the back of the room, to pace in the back potentially, and some may even request to complete paper-based work up against the wall. So they're taping it on the wall on that vertical plane.
There are so many different types of sensory supports for students, and the strategies are definitely not one size fits all. We have just scratched the surface, honestly, but it may be helpful to ask your students what works for them, or what type of strategies they used in high school. This can help to know what will work for them in the NECO setting.
The profession that works with sensory challenges is an occupational therapist. If you have specific questions about your own sensory challenges or the challenges or differences of a person in your life, seek out an OT. I want to thank the NECC community for taking the time to learn about supporting neurodivergent students and their sensory needs.
The more we learn about autism and neurodiversity, the better equipped we are to support students on campus.
A truly neuro-inclusive campus is achieved by taking steps like this. We are coming together to learn, to support, and to celebrate our students of all neurotypes. Thank you.